we are removing the 2.5-inch stock system. We're gonna replace the downpipe with a 3-inch downpipe, and then we're gonna put in a 3-inch catalytic right through here. Then on this last piece down here, we've got a resonator here. And we're gonna delete with some parts that I bought from a buddy of mine who's got the same vehicle. He also, there's our parts right there. And you can see the resonator delete here. Bolt up to the 3-inch there. And then this guy right here, they cut this thing open and tore all the baffles out. So this is just a high flow can, basically. It sounds awesome.
So a lot of this is just removing everything you see that's in the way. You know, anytime you're working on exhaust, you're gonna have a lot of rusted parts usually. So, you know, pre-spray with some lube and loosen up those connections. If you got air tools like Johnny and I, that's helpful. This hook removing tool, this tool we used a lot on these hangers. It's a larger one. I've got some smaller ones for O-rings and stuff, but Johnny's got this bigger one. It was great to be able to pull those hangers off, those rubber grommets off. There were 2 O2 sensors on this one. One we disconnected while it was on the ground from through the engine cavity, and then the other one we disconnected while it was up in the air. That second one we ended up putting a spacer on later that you'll see in the video. So and then I would also just say, you know, anytime you're doing something like this, photo evidence goes a long way. You know, if you're not doing a YouTube channel, snap a few photos before.
Gotta pull this forward.
See.
Ready? Okay, we're loose. Yep. All right. There we go. Now this, I would think you could sell for pretty decent money. Catalytic converters are not cheap.
Montrose.
Montrose?
Montrose, Colorado, there's a place there.
That'll buy them?
Yeah, I think they're like 75 bucks a piece.
Heck yeah! That's $75 worth of stuff I can buy on my car. Nope. Let's see, does the profile match? Yeah.
Same junk, huh?
Yep.
You see how close their hangers came out?
Ooh, it's good.
Alright, so working with the O2 sensors is challenging. They can be really seized in there, but you've also got this long wire coming off of them, and you want to be really careful not to damage those or to screw up the threads in any way. If you're working by yourself, I suggest positioning the threaded opening up above you so you can screw in the O2 sensor and let the wires dangle down, like gravity be your friend. But a lot easier if you got a buddy and a vise like Johnny has at his place. We really were able to work through this process pretty quickly, just to vise it up and break it loose, and then for both of us to kind of you know, carefully work these in here. Again, this is a vehicle with 100,000 miles on it, so these wires and these O2 sensors are used, and we're working as carefully as we can to be able to preserve the parts and not have to replace things as we go along. And if you break it, they're not too expensive. Now that we have the O2 sensors set up, we're going to real carefully push this up into the hole. And again, this is great with a lift and a buddy. I can't imagine doing this on the ground with jack stands, but I know guys do it all the time. Carefully holding it in place and letting one of us tie in the bolts on the flange right off the turbo and get this downpipe in place. It didn't take too long. You got to be, again, careful with those O2 sensor wires. Make sure everything's not getting pinched and tracking along. And with these aftermarket parts, you don't always have all of the same clips and spacers. we found. So trying to cut off the old original muffler and line up the cut marks exactly where the cut marks were on the one from my buddy's vehicle. We just kind of eyeballed it. Did our best, used a Sawzall here. Johnny's really clever with welding, so we were able to make it up. I say we loosely. He was able to make it up later when we put the rest of the system on. When it came to getting the muffler off, the tool for pulling the hangers loose was a bit challenging in these tight spots. So we eventually just decided to remove actual brackets that hold the hangers in place. Just 4 bolts. Didn't make much difference in the end to do with bolts or do with the hangers. Again, this is one of those times where having a buddy there to help hold it in place was really excellent. And, it's always a friend.
Okay.
So the next piece to come in here is the delete for the catalytic converter. Just essentially this straight piece of 3-inch pipe. It does have a spot for the O2 sensors to go in on the side. And you can see here that I put a 90-degree spacer on there to bring the O2 sensor away from the internal part of the pipe. Essentially, this fools the computer into thinking that there's still a cat there, and it'll prevent you from having check engine lane. So it was at this point in the process when Johnny asked me about having a flange, and no, I didn't have a flange. The downpipe I bought off of eBay was designed for you to put an entire 3-inch system on the car and not retrofit it to the 2.5-inch with a resonator delete. So we realized here we were kind of screwed looking at what my buddy's car had done to it, the one that I bought the parts from. We had to get creative here, and this is why we bust some knuckles. Johnny has a plasma table, so he just quickly took some measurements and ran to his plasma table and literally cut a flange for us to retrofit the pieces together. A little sawing and welding later, and he had a custom piece made. I'm sure that you could find a flange. Well, I'm sure, I don't know, I haven't looked on eBay. So if you're gonna go for this type of upgrade, you might want to look into that when you're buying that 90-degree spacer and the downpipe. Look for a 3-inch to 2.5 flange. Johnny's plasma table he uses for all kinds of stuff. But once he dialed in the measurements, it's just a matter of seconds, and we have a part. Move that quick.
And that is all it takes.
Run out to the car and check it. Do a little cleanup. Clamped it in place. It looked pretty good. From initial, just kind of eyeballing it there. Let's see if it's going to be tight enough. The thickness of the plate. We really lucked out. already at the stock place for this.
Oh, I see.
So hacked off the end of the 2.5 inch system. Johnny deburred it pretty quickly so that it would make a good weld onto that plate that he cut on the plasma table. Being ready for any kind of custom work is essential if you're going to get really creative. And having the right tools in place is great.
Yep.
Not everybody has this kind of setup, you know, but over time you amass the tools you need to make it happen. So yeah, there we go, custom flange ready to take it from that 3-inch catalytic and downpipe right back to 2.5. We were rocking and rolling again. So after we got that bolted on to that flange that he made, it was time to tack together the cut marks between the new system and the old system. And Johnny was able to just tack it in place, make sure that the tips were lined up on the end of the car, and then he finished a complete weld there by the resonator. Then we just dropped the whole back portion of the setup so that we could allow him the space to truly completely weld around in there. Pretty tight fit. You want to have a really skilled welder, someone like Johnny, that can do that.
All right, test drive. Busted Knuckle performance. What? Oh, yeah. Rev it up. Oh my God, yes. Oh my God. It's so good. Yeah. Does it feel better?